Hello and welcome to our video overview of data warehousing with Oracle Taleo. In this video, we'll do a quick overview of how cloud computing works to understand what its features and drawbacks are. Then we'll look at what data warehousing is and how it can augment the capability of the cloud computing model. We'll discuss some use case scenarios that highlight some of the abilities and advantages to utilizing a data warehouse setup, and we'll showcase some real-world staffing issues that were solved for with this solution. Lastly, and in the spirit of full disclosure, we'll speak to the limitations of the data warehouse. While we certainly want you to be aware of what it can do, we'd like you to be equally aware of what it is not. This will make sure that it's only considered for functionality it's capable of. Cloud computing, as we are speaking about it today, is used to describe software as a service or on-demand software. This is a way of delivering software to the end users over the internet, which is accessed by a browser or app. Some of the advantages of the software as a service model are lower upfront costs. Your business does not have to incur costs for hardware and infrastructure to provide and host the application. Quick setup and deployment. Configuration is done once and the application can then be rolled out to end users by sending a link and credentials. Scalability. Since all that is needed to add more users is a license and a connection, scaling the application up to numerous users is quite simple. Conversely, you can reduce licenses as needed if there is a downturn. Some of the disadvantages to the software as a service model are performance. SaaS applications may run at a somewhat slower speed than on-premise client-server applications. Connectivity requirement. As the SaaS model is based on web delivery, internet connection problems means you will lose access to your software and/or data. Security and data concerns. Access management and the privacy of sensitive information is a major consideration around cloud and hosted services. The data is contained and secured by the cloud service provider. The cloud computing model consists almost entirely of applications and services rendered through a browser. Salesforce.com was one of the first software as a service solutions with its customer relationship management software. Taleo is software as a service provided by Oracle for applicant tracking. HRIS, or Human Resource Information Systems, include Kronos and ADP. Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, consists of solutions such as Oracle ERP Cloud, SAP, and Workday. There are now even clouds that provide single sign-on to the other clouds. While the benefits of cloud computing are numerous, the primary drawback is the data acquired from these services tend to exist only within that service. For example, if you would like to use your CRM to announce open enrollment for all employees, there isn't a ready way to transfer that information from the HRIS to the CRM. Perhaps you would like to use your CRM to manage and track a recruiting campaign for hard-to-fill openings in the engineering field. Retrieving all candidates with an engineering degree along with the related information for the campaign would take several steps to populate the data into the CRM. Pipelining the future HR needs from the ERP to the recruiting tool can also be difficult. The solution to this dilemma is keeping a copy of the data internally for reporting and interchange needs. This is known as data warehousing. Data warehousing creates a mirror of the data from the cloud service. At a given time, data is updated from the cloud to the data warehouse. This allows for creation of automated and ad hoc data set reporting that can populate other cloud services, such as CRM, ERP, and business resources such as internal dashboards. This slide will illustrate how data warehousing works with Taleo. The data in Taleo is divided into two types. Lookup data, which includes information in the system that is relatively static. This includes OLF foundational data as well as system data such as statuses and states. Incremental data, which is the data dynamically created through the use of the system, includes requisitions, candidates, and submission tracking data, among others. When updating from the cloud to the data warehouse, only the information that has been created or updated since the last pull is queried from the incremental data. The data is extracted by either Taleo Connect client or the asynchronous application programming interface, which is also known as the bulk API. The data is then loaded into an internal database such as Microsoft SQL, Oracle, Mongo database, MySQL, PostgreSQL, or any relational database management system the business uses. I'd like to give an example of how a Taleo data warehouse has been leveraged to meet the custom requirements of a staffing industry recruiting group. The staffing company is in aviation and engineering, so many of the contractors were in fact career-long workers that simply changed assignments at the end of one engagement to another. As the recruiters were service-oriented towards these contractors, they asked for an agile requisition lookup tool that could filter among criteria such as location, duration of assignment, and sponsoring company. We were able to achieve this by utilizing the requisition-related tables of the data warehouse as a data source to populate a custom intranet site exclusively for our recruiters. While the recruiter was on the phone with this contractor, they could easily sort and filter the open requisition list to find the best next position for the contractor. As the data warehouse was connected to the intranet, the portal was extremely fast and customized to what the recruiter needed to see. Another example is the notification of change to a requisition. Because requisitions could emanate and be updated from multiple sources, we were in search of a way to notify the recruiter if an important component of the requisition was updated. Updates to the fields such as title, external or internal descriptions or qualifications, and number to hire were of significant importance that we wanted the recruiter to be aware that these changes were there, as they were often updated by admins of the account and not the recruiter directly. We were able to use the data warehouse to facilitate this by using a trigger that checked important fields for changes when updated. The integration services would then send an email through our internal mail servers notifying the recruiter of the fields that have changed. Also, information from the data warehouse was used to create internal dashboard portals that were geared towards the user type and group of the consumer. C-level users, of course, having complete overview of the recruiting and pipelining process. These had drill downs capabilities based on the foundational data of organization, location, and job function. These enhancements and extras were only possible with the instantiation and use of the Taleo data warehouse. So what are the kinds of things you can do with a data warehouse, and why would you want to set one of these up? Here are a couple of benefits and reasons for using a system like this. A data warehouse can be used to populate data visualization tools in internal dashboards using applications like Tableau, Datamatics, and Tibco. The data source can be used to populate data in custom portals for specific views on entities such as candidates, requisitions, and submissions. Automated and ad hoc data interchange with other cloud sources. The export tools are included with your Taleo subscription. There is no extra cost from Oracle associated with setting up a data warehouse. Because the data is in a standard structure, it can be stored on almost any relational database management system the business uses. No new or special software needs to be procured to set up a data warehouse. And finally, it's your data. You should be able to access any portion of it for reporting, auditing, or any other business cases you need. Now we'd like to go over the limitations of a data warehouse. As with all technology, there are some considerations to take into account when examining a data warehouse solution. The data warehouse is a mirror copy of the cloud data. This information should be considered read-only. While the data is not technically read-only, changing this data would defeat the purpose of having a data warehouse. Data cannot be manipulated in the zone by way of the data warehouse. A data warehouse is for export only and is not bidirectional. While it is technically possible to create and import and utilize TCC to import the data, this is not part of the normal operation of a data warehouse, but an enhancement that would need to be separately created and completed. The export mechanism is batched, meaning that the data warehouse is not a real-time reporting system. The incremental update schedule dictates the lag of real-time updates. The data is only as fresh as the last incremental export received from Taleo and loaded into the data warehouse. Also, a Taleo data warehouse project is large. In its full iteration, there are upwards of 200 tables involved in the integration. The time span for an implementation can easily stretch for months depending on the amount of resources dedicated to the project. Thank you for watching our overview of data warehousing with Oracle Taleo. This production is brought to you by ThinkTalent. Please visit us at thinktalent.net or drop us a line at info@thinktalent.net. Look for our other Oracle Taleo recruiting videos on our YouTube channel.